So that when you're hungry at night and you ain't got no food, you go to Subway. The camera facing north, how is that my issue? It feels like if I had said it was a Muslim or a Mexican or someone black, I feel like the doubters would have supported me a lot more. And that says a lot about the place that we are in our country right now. The fact that we have these fear mongers, these people that are trying to separate us, and it's just not okay.
But he sounds so passionate. Jussie Smollett, the black American gay actor, said at 3 a.m. he was savagely beaten by two racist guys. They tied a noose around his neck at 3 a.m., poured bleach on him. The only problem was, when the guys were arrested, they told the cops they worked with him. He got him a job on set of his show. He orchestrated the entire thing. But listen to this.
I just want young people, young members of the LGBTQ community, young black children to know how strong that they are.
A shame you feel the way to achieve this is through lying, when the truth is far much more heartbreaking. I tried to close my eyes and I tried to imagine the roads the children took. It wasn't enough. So I found footage of someone traveling from Washington to California. I needed that visual. See, that opening may not be as random as you think. There's a high probability these are the exact same roads Jennifer and her wife Sarah Hart traveled down until they reached Highway 1 near Westport, California. Then Jennifer floored it and ran their vehicle off this 100-foot cliff you see here. They found Jennifer and Sarah's bodies along with 3 of their children, Marquise, Jeremiah, and Abigail. Their 3 other children, Devontae, Hannah, and Sierra, are missing. But before we get into the details, let's go back to the beginning. Jennifer Jean Hart grew up in a small town called Huron. Now this town is on the eastern South Dakota plains. She grew up with her mother and her father Douglas Hart and her little brother Jonathan. She'd ride in the wagons with Jonathan when they were little. When she turned 14 years old, she moved in with her father. As she got older, she moved onto her bike and made room for her little brother Christopher and put both of them in a wagon. Now, pay attention to these small things, as I'm seeing now early on that Jennifer is a leader and she likes to care for other people. This is also a family of musicians, with Jennifer being very skilled at the trumpet, so all the kids would gather around and play their instruments together. Something else you might want to keep in mind: she would defy barriers. She never played girls softball. She wanted to play baseball with the guys. Stand out, she was very headstrong. When she turned 14 years old, she moved in with her father. He typically worked throughout the week, and during this time, Jennifer would defy rules and jump out of the window, sneak out at night, and he couldn't take it for much longer, and she had to move back in with her mom. Her father was quoted as saying, "I thought maybe when she got older, she'd understand." Jennifer held grudges, something else we should keep in mind. She graduated from high school in 1997 and then enrolled in Augustana University and remained there for 2 years before she transferred over to Northern State University. This is about 3 hours away from her hometown. The wonders of alphabetical order. The following year in 2000, if you look in the yearbook, you'll see Jennifer Hart on the same page with Sarah Jingler. These 2 will date and fall in love. Jennifer would always write that Sarah is her future roommate to be accepted. Just little things they do to show that they were in love. Sarah grew up in Big Stone City. This was fairly close to the college they both attended. On campus, they were known to be madly in love, which is why it's hard for me to understand why would Jennifer then go and steal a pair of Nike running shoes and 25 trading cards. And the police asked her why would she do this. She said she had no idea, and she said there could be many things that could have made her do it, and that was all that was written on the report. That's all we know. Nonetheless, she was charged with petty theft. She stayed in school for 2 more years, but she didn't graduate. However, in 2002, Sarah graduated. The year prior to graduation, something happened with her father we don't know of. But this is significant because she never spoke to him again. Ever again. To never speak to your father again in life makes me wonder what in the world could have happened. Apparently not too much, as you're going to learn that once Jennifer is mad at you, she stays mad for a very long time. Their first adoption. To protect her privacy, I'm going to use a variation of her middle name, so we'll call her Lee. But around summertime of 2004, Sarah and Jennifer adopted a troubled teenager, 15 years old, Lee. They asked Lee, "Do you mind if your adopted parents are lesbian?" She said, "It'll be different, but I don't mind." And just like that, she was off to Alexandria, Minnesota. She reported they didn't abuse her at all. She reported, as a matter of fact, the first 6 months were great. She said they did a ton of things she's never done before. They went camping. They went pretty much everywhere together. One thing to note is that she did complain that she was always home. She either had to do stuff with them or she was in the house. So she never got freedom to go anywhere. There's pictures of them going camping. There's pictures of them going to the amusement park. She had a dog. She had several cats. Nothing out of the norm except that she didn't go anywhere without them. She said Sarah was more the quiet type. Jennifer was the outgoing type. And that makes sense too. You remember the running back for the Green Bay Packers, Amon Green?
Amon Green and Nick Lucia in the backfield, and this is Green. Look at Green, all by himself. 20, 10, touchdown.
Well, Jennifer and Sarah took Lee to a game. And after the game, they all ran up with their footballs to get an autograph from Amon Green. I mean, as normal people would do, I mean, this happened to me actually when I met the rapper T.I. for the first time. I walked up to him to get his autograph. He didn't want to give out his autograph, but he saw a little kid there and he gave his autograph to the little kid. I understood that, it's a little child. But Amon Green, he picks up Lee's football and signs it. And Jennifer is a huge Amon Green fan. He doesn't sign Jennifer's, he signs Lee's. Jennifer didn't speak to Lee for days. Keep in mind, this is a child who has admitted that her adopted parents are great. They haven't done anything wrong to her. She's not out here in the media trying to bash their name and make them look horrible. She's saying the opposite of what a lot of people are saying about them. So what do you believe about this story? Days. The same woman who has never spoken to her father again after something occurred in college. Despite this, Lee still loved her environment and she didn't want to go anywhere. And Jennifer came to Lee and told her they were thinking about adopting other younger kids. Lee was happy. She was thinking, I get to be an older sister. She could have siblings and someone else to play with. So she got all excited. And Jennifer and Sarah went to Texas to try to adopt other children. Now they dropped Lee off with another family while they were gone. And when they came back, they showed her pictures of the little kids and she was all excited, ready to be a big sister. And then Jen and Sarah took Lee to see a therapist. They left. The therapist told Lee she will be moving with another family immediately. Her clothes, everything was already at the new family's house. There may have not been any physical abuse, but to take a child in, to love a child, the mental damage of what you can do to someone like this is horrible. To do a child like that, I don't even have to say it's devastating because that's exactly what Lee said. She was devastated. She never heard from them again, and unfortunately that ends the story of Lee. In 2006, Sherry Davis lost parental rights to her children, Dante, Devontae, Jeremiah, and Sierra, due to being hooked on drugs and various instances of neglect. This was a decision that everyone agreed with, to include Sherry's family members. However, this did not mean that they wanted the children to go far away. For Sherry had a sister, Priscilla Celestine, who was more than capable of taking care of her nieces and nephews. She loved the children very, very much and even bought a bigger home for them to stay in. Nothing changed about her life. Her life was devoted to the children. Her life was work, children, church, and it stayed that way, work, children, church. And then one day, it all came crashing down. Celestine was asked, could she work a double shift? Now, doing this, she left the children with Sherry. Child Protective Services came by. They saw Sherry with the kids, took them immediately. Devontae, Jeremiah, and Sierra was 4, 3, and 2 years old at the time. You're going to hear people say that the fourth and oldest child, Dante, wasn't wanted by the Harts because he was older. And that does make sense. They didn't appear to like older children. They got rid of Lee. While it may make sense, I'm going to go off what I got from researching. And what I got is that the state took Dante away from them and said that he needed to go into a mental health facility. Now, if this information is coming from the state, I can't say for certain if Jennifer or Sarah neglected to take Dante with them. She had no idea she violated any rules, and she was very frustrated. She was very hurt that they were going to take the children away from their relatives. She didn't know what she was supposed to do. Was she supposed to lose her job? So Celestine got a lawyer, and she literally fought with everything she had in any way possible, multiple times, to get these children back with her. These were not unwanted children. Permanent Family Resource Center, which is already defunct today, was located in Fergus Falls, Minnesota at the time. The agency was founded in 2000 by 3 small families, and they specialized in moving siblings and children of color. I think that, in my opinion, if you have a new form agency, because remember this is 2006, they were started in 2000, you got this great reputation that you're supposed to specialize in siblings and children of color, and you got 3 siblings and their children of color. To keep your reputation, it's a possibility that you will err on the side of getting them to a family so fast that it causes you to miss things to put them with the proper family. Why do I say that? Because the Harts had already adopted 3 children, Marquise, Hannah, and Abigail. In February of 2009, Devontae, Sierra, and Jeremiah were officially adopted by the Harts. 6 months from this adoption date, the Permanent Family Resource Center had already had dozens of violations going against them, and it was unclear if these were coming from the Harts. But this still is a new organization, and they have so many complaints going against them already. The state took their license for 2 years for serious violations of standards and procedures. An ex-CPS worker said that Texas will funnel children all the time through the Permanent Family Resource Center, even after knowing they had all of these violations. Barbara Hines is the listing agent that gave Jennifer and Sarah their first home, and she went to the house to eat one day. She said the kids were quiet. She said the kids could never do anything right, and Jennifer would always snap her finger and tell them to get in the corner and no food for you. No food for you. Other family members reported that if you disagreed with Jennifer, that's it, she'd cut you out for life, and this is something that we all have heard before, right? Lorraine Feely, who lived across the street from the Hart, said that the children would walk in a single file line, like they were quiet, almost like they were programmed, and something just didn't seem right with them. Jennifer ran a tight ship. Everything they did was what she wanted to do. The children played music, songs, because that's how Jennifer grew up, remember? Wait, isn't that weird? Total silence, then all of a sudden they turn on a happy meter? Okay, go.
This is a place where all relations bring celebration to meditation, giving thanks for all creation. We are so provided for. We are so provided for. We are so provided for. We are so provided for.
This is sick. Look at Devontae and Jeremiah looking back at Jennifer as if, are we looking happy enough, Mommy? Are we putting on a good enough facade for you? Did I hug Sierra good enough? And listen to the lyrics of the song.
Blessings I received, how they have been bestowed upon me. So I put it all back in the ground, back in the soil where I am found.
The children wore Green Bay Packers uniforms and got G's cut in their head when the Packers would win because Jennifer loved the Green Bay Packers. Jennifer had an obsession with the Goonies. The children wore Goonies clothes. They even went on location on some of the film sets of the Goonies. However, behind the scenes, things were a little bit different. The name was redacted, but allegedly, Hannah had bruising on her arm at school. She said Jennifer Hart did it. However, they said Hannah fell down 8 stairs. The issue to me is that in the police reports, it was noted that the children were stealing food from other children in school and eating out of the trash cans in school. Yes, you get a lot of reports on Child Protective Services. Some may fall down some stairs sometime, but that seems like the classic example when there is abuse. Okay, if I gave you that and you still swept this case under the rug, what about multiple reports of them eating out of the trash can? This goes unnoticed. Jennifer begins to feud with neighbors. One neighbor in particular, where over 30 police calls were called out. He admitted he may have said something about their lifestyle, but she said that she had enough of everything and she wanted to move away. Coincidentally, they wanted to move at the time where Abigail reported she was beaten by Jennifer with a belt. This time, Sarah confessed and was found guilty of child abuse. There was a report that Jennifer did it 2 years prior, and now there's a report that Jennifer did it again. They do everything that Jennifer says, but Sarah is the one that did it? Seems quite odd to me. Once Sarah pled guilty to child abuse, the children were removed from school. Now let's go back again. An issue with her dad, runs away. The responsibility became too much to adopt and raise a teenage girl, runs away. Now there are reports that the children are not being fed at home, runs away. Once they were homeschooled, they were able to do a lot of more things. So they take long trails, long walks in the park and go camping a lot with another community. I'm going to show you guys some pictures, and it is up to you how you feel about these photos, to where some could say that these have racial undertones to them. Notice the size of the children in these photos. At 11 years old, Hannah was roughly the size of a 6-year-old. All of the children were really small, and Jennifer would wave this off as coming from their mother, their biological mother, from being drug babies and She would exaggerate and say that the children were shot at. She'd get called out on this using sort of stereotypical things you hear about urban areas and say that the children came from this. She'd also lie about the size of the children when she got them. For instance, she'd say that Hannah was overweight when she first got her. You decide if Hannah is overweight. Hannah also was missing her front teeth, her permanent front teeth. When asked why didn't she get her new teeth, she said Hannah didn't want them. I want you to look at something here. This is the growth chart for Devontae Hart when he was measured in 2013 at 11 years old. Now, if you look at the X on the screen, it shows he was 4 feet 2 inches tall when a doctor measured him. The growth chart doesn't even show heights below 4 feet 4 inches for boys this age, and a typical 11-year-old boy stands 4 feet 8 inches. Hannah, at 10 years old around this time, she was 3'9" at 50 pounds. This is the typical size of a 6-year-old girl. The oldest 15-year-old Marquise was 90 pounds at 4 foot 9 inches. He was the size of a small 11 or 12-year-old boy. 8-year-old Sierra was 44 pounds at 3 foot 9 inches and appeared to be around 6 years old. Also note, Jeremiah was the lone Hart child whose height and weight fell within the range for his age, but this was just barely. One thing else you want to notice about this, medical records would discuss any genetic conditions, family predispositions, and or factors that might explain their body sizes. But because the children were adopted through foster care, it's clear that these records do exist. They have to in order for the children to go through the system. Yet the case worker wrote in her notes that being adopted, no medical history is known for each child. This is important because you can't show neglect or child abuse from lack of eating without having anything to compare it to. So this gets Jennifer Hart off the hook for their extremely small sizes and height. But I want to post 2 pictures again before we continue. This is clear child abuse. No way around it. Look at simple mathematics here. Every single one of your children are far beyond their height and weight of what an average child would be under years and years of your care. These children are dressed and propped in front of adults to dance, to sing, to create a facade that everything is perfect, but it's far from that. And then Jennifer began taking the children to rallies.
On the streets of Ferguson, Missouri, outrage and anger.
No justice! No peace!
Protesters of different ages and races demanding answers in the shooting death of 18-year-old Michael Brown at the hands of a policeman.
He's running this way. He turns his body towards this way, hands in the air, being compliant. He gets shot in his face and chest and goes down and dies.
Witnesses said Brown's body lay in the street for hours.
I'd like everybody here to appreciate that it took a very long time yesterday to process this scene.
The shooting sparked a furious reaction. Police responded in force, brandishing assault rifles.
Give us the serenity to understand.
When the city of Ferguson, Missouri, failed to indict the police officer in the murder of Michael Brown, a protest rally was held in Portland, Oregon. Jennifer Hart, being the ever opportunist, took her feeble and hungry son to this protest rally with a sign that said "Free Hugs." This would make Dante more famous than ever.
It's something you can't pass up when you see that. You have to embrace that and engage that, because an hour later I was getting yelled at.
I turned around and there he was speaking to Sergeant Barnum, And I thought, wow, that is a powerful scene there. That is a scene of people coming together.
Sergeant Barnum says at first Devontae was frightened by the protesters and the police.
He asked me some questions about, you know, why does this have to happen, those sorts of things, and I just sighed and told him, you know, I'm sorry that this is happening today, but this is a good thing.
This is what I've been like dreaming about, for a picture that affects people. The power of a photograph.
The friendly conversation ended with one of Devontae's free hugs. Devontae was born to a drug-addicted mother, but he and his two siblings were adopted into a loving Portland family, and he went to the protest with a message of peace.
There's been a lot of tears shed on my part, and I know a lot of other people's parts, and it's the humanity in us.
In the midst of a violent week of racial divide, this single snapshot is helping turn the nation's hurt into hope.
But hope for who? I mean, as much as we want Devontae's tears to be for equality, for a senseless murder, they're to prevent the murder of his own. They're to prevent starvation. Those are tears that's searching for love. I mean, even when you carve the word in his head and you prop him up, and he's devoid of everything. He's reaching out for his brothers, for his sisters, for just the one chance, the one life they have to live, to have real love. That's the hope that Devontae cries for. Jennifer took Devontae to all of these rallies, and it was Jennifer's idea to give him the sign. It was Jennifer's idea to let him hug people. And when he blows up, she understands that this attention, while good, could make people pry into their lives. She's getting a little bit too famous. So what does Jennifer do again? She packs up and she runs and moves to another state. So we've gone from Minnesota, abuse, Oregon, abuse and exploitation, Washington. You can run, but you can't hide. Again, the children were homeschooled to hide any signs of child abuse, but when's the last time you've been really hungry? Really hungry. You see someone hungry, and even if they're submissive, that will to live, that will to eat, it's going to drive you to not care about the punishment, to not care about the consequences. So these kids would sneak out of the house to tell their neighbors that they're hungry.
Well, I mean, you know, we had an incident before with an evening situation that made Dana very concerned about what was going on next door. And then about a week ago or so, one of the children came over and started asking for food. And it went on for a period of time until we kind of determined that he was probably reaching out. And we determined that we should call the Child Protective Services, and that's what we did on Friday.
You said he was asking for a lot of food.
Yeah, a lot of food. I mean, it started out very, yeah.
Tortillas, and it ended up a case of food. Multiple, you know, cured meats, non-perishable food items.
Right.
And was asking that we not tell his mom and to, you know, hide it and put it by the fence so he could get to it, and that they were withholding food from him as punishment.
Same as Minnesota, same as Oregon.
Oh, it was Devontae. You guys have shown us pictures, and we've talked about that one, that it was Devontae for sure.
Tell me, you were a little surprised when you said he was 15, because he was small.
Well, they were all small. I mean, the one girl who was 12 looked like she was 7.
Same as Minnesota, same as Oregon.
Both of her teeth were missing, front teeth, and we questioned, you know, what's up with the teeth thing, and they said, well, she didn't want them replaced. We thought that was a little weird, but anyway, they were all very small.
Very thin,
yeah,
and tiny. We only met Jennifer once, and that was in reference to the incident with Hannah.
Right.
She only was here that next morning one time. I met with Jennifer a couple of times in regards to sharing the driveway, and she wasn't friendly at all. She was mean.
1:30 in the morning, the doorbell's ringing, and I answered the door, and then she was standing out there with in a blanket, completely covered in blackberries, because she had gone to that neighbor's house through the blackberries, and then they have a gate that locks that, so she ended up back over on our front doorstep. And at the time, I didn't know what to do, so
What'd she say?
She said that she said that she wanted us to take her to Seattle, and that they weren't treating her right. Don't make her go back. But kids can do stuff sometimes when they're a certain age. They run away from home and stuff like that. So by that time, they were all out looking for her with flashlights, and so we tried to get some story as to what was going on. And of course, they told us what we wanted to hear, I guess, and life went on for another 8 months. And here we are today.
It's crazy. I received a story about a girl who lost her life. She was murdered. She was murdered because the person that took her saw the Amber Alert. He knew the Amber Alert was the signal that this is big trouble and he needed to get rid of the evidence and kill. You have encountered Child Protective Services in your past. You have ran as far as you can run. You knew that your entire life was going to come crashing down when you saw the note that Child Protective Services stopped by the house. So Jennifer and Sarah packed up their family and left the house to never return. On March 24th of 2018, the family arrived around Newport, Oregon. They drive south along US 101 until they reach around Leggett, California, and then continue traveling south on Route 101 until they reach around Fort Bragg about 8 p.m. that night. They remain in Fort Bragg for a day, and we know this because we see Jennifer Hart on surveillance camera. Jennifer's friend texted her at least 6 times, asking could she just see the family. Texts were not returned. Jennifer had a blood alcohol content of 0.10. That's over the legal limit. Several of the kids were found with Benadryl in their system. I can only hope for the humanity in a monster that they wanted the children to be asleep when Jennifer deliberately ran the SUV off the 100-foot cliff, killing her entire family. Sarah was riding shotgun with Marquise, Jeremiah, and Abigail found close by. On April 7th, Sierra's body was found and positively identified. Keep in mind that all kind of theories were going around that they killed Devontae, they killed Hannah somewhere else, since they were the ones to tell the neighbors. But I always believed from the first time I've heard of this story that all 6 children were in that car and all of them died, and some floated away since none of the children were wearing seatbelts. Then you suffer so much in life, they don't even give you teeth. And it ends with just a partial foot.
New at 5, investigators have discovered skeletal remains at the California cliff a family of 6 drove off of in March. Jennifer and Sarah Hart and 4 of their children died. They had lived in Minnesota before moving west. Yesterday, authorities were alerted to a pair of jeans and tennis shoe found not far from the crash site. They say that the shoe contained skeletal remains, which they believe may be one of the 2 children not yet found.
person, the wonderful spirit, Devontae, the one you propped up the most, the one you use as your flag symbol of your Hart family, hasn't been found till this day. And all I can think is, I hope he's somewhere dancing. Dancing the night away. Here's another case. I keep finding these cases where we have people who try to reach out to the world. You have Amina and Sarah that tried to reach out to the world about a horrible father. You have Caitlin Nicole Davis, who went on social media basically screaming, "Help me, help me." And now you have kids eating out of trash cans, literally begging for food. Food. That's the one easiest thing that our court system thought that you can provide for them. Food. As it turns out, you didn't even provide them beds. When the police searched the house, a family of 8 people, 2 adults and 6 children, there were only 2 beds in the house. And these little tiny foldable chairs, how hard is it to be good? Does it take more effort to be good? Does it take more effort to cook food and feed children you're responsible for, or to abuse them, to starve them, to run away, to move, to leave a paper trail that's going to ultimately catch up with you? You prefer death than to give the food you pose in the photos with your children. You prefer death. What kind of world do we live in? How important are fake facades? How important is it? You can have a family in America where everything looks so perfect, but you want to listen to Metallica and choke your wife and children, or savagely beat and kill others. Speaking of savagely beating and killing others, Ted Bundy got away with his crimes because they were in different states, and at that time the states couldn't talk to each other. So there was no communication. And I wonder, do we have communication from people who have had reports of child neglect or child abuse coming from one state to another state since they were able to travel? So I spoke with a friend who works in Child Protective Services in the state of North Carolina to try to pick their brain. Hello?
Hey.
Hey, what's going on? I know you're at work right now, so I just want to pick your brain on my new documentary I'm doing. Just a couple questions. Help me out with, because it's dealing with Child Protective Services. So basically, in a nutshell, I have a family who there was, like, in 2 separate states, you know, there were charges filed to Protective Services of child abuse, and they moved to a 3rd state. And I was wondering, is there a nationwide system that is in place that different states can look and see if someone was charged or there was an investigation open in the previous state?
Unfortunately, no. A lot of states don't even have a statewide system, so you wouldn't even know if they moved to a different county. Georgia has a statewide system. North Carolina has one. I believe Florida has one as well. And basically, the only way you know if a family has CPS involvement is if they told you. Here in North Carolina, if you call in a report on someone, an investigator makes contact with the family. One of the initial questions we ask them is if they've ever lived outside the county, and if they've ever lived outside lived in another state, and where. A lot of times they
somebody doing that. So if I want to look this up to see if a state even has a statewide system, since a lot of times it can go county to county, is there any way I can find out if a state has a statewide system or not?
Usually you can tell by the website, just to Google CPS in whatever state. If it's a statewide system, you'll be able to tell. It'll either direct you to call a county-specific number or a state one. The only statewide system is if you have, if you're a registered sex offender or if you're convicted in a court of law for child abuse. We do criminal background checks on every call that comes in, so sometimes we can catch it that way. But having CPS involvement, even if CPS says that you're guilty of what you're charged for, it doesn't always equal conviction in court. The burden of proof is much higher in court than it is within the agency. And in cases we have that would suspect criminal abuse or neglect, we force the police so they can do a separate investigation, and that usually takes forever. And if they're put on the abuse registry, we have to notify them in person, and they get a certain number of days to appeal. If they move or go missing and we can't find them to notify them in person, we can't put them on the list. So that's where the whole system goes from there.
This is crazy, man. So I don't want to hold you, but basically they went to different states, and in the third state, CPS came and left a note on their door. Then they left and drove to a fourth state where they died. So had they not died in that fourth state, you're telling me none of this would have been looked at in their past, and they could have abused the children in the fourth state as well.
Yeah, other factors to consider. Even most states require that social workers have no more than 12 cases. Most of us have damn near 30 or 40, which means there's no way to keep up. Investigators have to make diligent efforts to find the families for 2 weeks. If they can't be located, then we have to close it. And even if they were found, if there's no evidence of abuse, we wouldn't be able to do much anyway, especially if they knew we were coming. And the system is supposed to be designed so that we can't just take people's kids just because. The problem is, it also means that kids who are really being abused just slip through the cracks.
Wow. Wow. I'm going to talk to you later about this. Just give me a call when you get off. I definitely thank you for this. I really, really appreciate this.
No problem, anytime.
All right, no problem. I'll talk to you later.
Thanks, bye.
I want you to get tired. I want you to grow fatigued from hearing me either type or say this in every video. Mother is the name of God in the minds of children. And here we have two that failed them. Everybody has people on Facebook putting up facades as if everything is so perfect. And I can understand some stuff you want to hide. You don't want people to know about your life. But we must look into each other. Learn about each other, befriend each other. Our parents knew about our neighbors when we grew up. My mom knew about my friends down the street. They knew about me. What is the purpose of all of these facades? It is to mask the evil that is within. It reminds me of a movie quote, one of my favorite movie quotes.
The greatest trick the devil ever pulled was convincing the world he didn't exist. And like that,